This is ours
Hard
right
focused
here.
effort.
Is it warm in here or is it me?
I just had to remove a sweater.
They own
It
these
is hot.
spaces
And Tony
here.
says he's already fixed
No,
it.
and
He's
all
already
these,
turned it
yeah,
down.
they own all this.
Tony,
We
well,
have
how,
an
didn't you have to
agreement.
do it
So
over
this is
here?
all library.
Pardon?
Didn't you have to
Well,
do-
I think he did
This
it
is
over here
theirs. This
before
is
he went
theirs.
back
This
in
whole
his.
horseshoe's theirs for this. That's all connected to that. So that, yeah, so they have enough. They should.
Oh, I always thought that was library.
Yeah.
Be socializing, so I gotta sign all this stuff.
Agenda for us, Matt. I'm curious.
This weekend.
Why did you
Were you guys at the wine
agenda
festival?
for us? Because it changed?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't do that.
On Saturday.
I'll just listen.
Sunday. Busy getting them back and stuff like that. How was it? It was good, yeah.
What time were you there?
Got there at 7, I probably left there like around.
I fell asleep for 1 hour.
Oh, did you? Good. Good for you.
To New York.
Nice here. Remember when you grew your hair long? That was so much fun.
Yeah, you guys would tease me. You guys said I was turning into like a rocker or something.
Yeah, you were
I
slick.
forget what you said.
You were slick.
Peer pressure. It did get a little ridiculous.
A little?
We were gonna braid it. That's what it was.
Yeah, I just didn't have time to cut it. It was like I looked like Pat Riley.
It was COVID or something.
Was it COVID?
Or was it last week? We forget. It's warm.
I did. So bad.
Park. Between the salt. Oh my gosh. I'm not going there anymore. It's that bad. I was out there this morning and it's
You doing?
Hey, Mayor, how are
hard
you?
as dirt.
Matt, why are the fire guys here for this discussion? Fascinating.
Am I taking up too much space?
No, you're okay. Do you feel crowded? I mean,
No, I just feel like I'm taking more than normal.
no, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm used to it.
We're ready here right now.
Okay.
It's all on you.
All right.
It's all on you.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the city meeting of Monday, November 6th. At this time, I would like to call Pastor Eric Dunaway from Cypress Meadows Community Church. So please come forward and lead us in the invocation. So if everyone would please stand up and remain standing for the pledge to the flag.
You bow your heads with me. God, I thank you for each man and woman here on this council. I believe that each one has been appointed to this role of leadership in this community according to your will. So I pray, Heavenly Father, that you grant the wisdom required to accomplish the necessary business here this evening. Impart to them your character, God, that they may lead and serve this community with grace and integrity. May your will be accomplished here tonight. And I pray over this assembly, God, that your peace and your justice would preside over every heart and every life and every matter for the good of all who call Safety Harbor home. May we honor you, God, as peaceful and gracious citizens in all we say and do this evening. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. All right, so we're going to move to the presentation portion of the meeting. And this time I'd like to call on Mrs. Kearns, Terry Kearns, to please come forward. We have a National Native American Heritage Month for November 2023 proclamation, which I will read and present to you. Again, a proclamation in recognition of a Native American Heritage Month. Whereas during National Native American Heritage Month, we celebrate the rich tapestry of indigenous peoples and honor their sacrifices, which we recognize as inextricably woven into the history of our country. And Native Americans are descendants of the original indigenous inhabitants of what is now the United States of America. And Native Americans have moving stories of tragedy, triumph, and perseverance that need to be shared with future generations. And Native Americans have enriched our heritage and continue to add to all aspects of our society through their generosity of culture and the continued practice of teaching economic, environmental, and cultural sustainability. And our country is blessed by the character and strength exemplified by the Native Americans who have answered the call of service in our armed forces in greater numbers than any group in the United States. We honor our Native American veterans and those who serve in active duty for their bravery and sacrifice. And during the month of November, we honor our Native American people and recognize their continued contributions in strengthening the diversity of our society. Now, therefore, I, Joe Ayub, Mayor of the City of Safety Harbor, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim November 2023 to be Native American Heritage Month in the City of Safety Harbor and encourage all residents to celebrate the heritage and achievements of Native Americans and recognize their contributions to our nation. So thank you for coming out to accept this proclamation. Anything you'd like to say?
So thank you on behalf of the Diversity Advisory Board. Thank you to the Mayor, City Commission, and the City of Safety Harbor.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move to the audience to be heard portion of the meeting. So if there's anyone in attendance that would like to be heard on an item that's not on the regular agenda or that's in the consent agenda, please come forward, state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission.
That's fine, that's fine.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager Spore. Special thanks to you for help with this project. My name is Jamie Lewis. I reside at 2035 Felipe Parkway, number 77. I'm a student in the Public Policy and Administration Baccalaureate program at SPC. In this, my final semester, I'm completing a capstone project and here today to present it to you. I've chosen to do a feasibility study on the addition of an automated traffic signal at the intersection of Main Street and Felipe Parkway. During my time as a Safety Harbor resident, it has been clear the intersection needs some improvements. Going through the stop, it is common to experience drivers who seem to have forgotten the guidelines for right-of-way, and pedestrians too impatient for cars to yield to them. With all the previous development and the plans for even more, the traffic there will only increase. Upon speaking to Public Works Director Renee Cooper, she made it clear that she cannot comment on whether she thinks the intersection warrants this addition without first seeing the results of a comprehensive traffic study. I also spoke to Pinellas County Transportation Director Tom Washburn. He stated, "I can see where there are some operational issues with the four-way stop. I have handouts of a turn movement count conducted by his division at the intersection over a 24-hour period on November 1st. The data summarizes all movement in 15-minute intervals. It shows a lot of pedestrian crossings, 1,126 on Felipe Parkway in the northbound direction. The afternoon peak period alone showed 96 crossings there. I've highlighted these total counts on page 3, the red tab, and total PM peak period count on page 7, the blue tab. It's also important to note the counts were collected on a Wednesday morning through Thursday morning. We all know how much bigger these numbers might have been had it been on a weekend or during an event. In addition, I have the results of 29 respondents to a survey conducted on Main Street on October 14th to share. A key takeaway is that an overwhelming majority of respondents agree the intersection needs a pedestrian crosswalk. Whether a proposal for a signal is made, at least the alternative of a pedestrian crosswalk may be in order. I recommend that the City of Safety Harbor move forward with commissioning a comprehensive traffic study for the intersection to determine if the intersection warrants the addition of an automated traffic signal. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great night.
Great. Thank you very much for presenting that and for coming out. Yeah, a lot of work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to be heard? We'll now move to the consent agenda. We have 6 items. The first one is approval of the October 16th and October 20th City Commission meeting minutes. Second is approval of a contract for services to conduct an energy audit and building enclosure assessment for city facilities in the amount of $42,000 with Terracon Consultants. Number 3, approval of purchase of a 115 kilowatt generator in the amount of $98,000 from Pinnacle Central Company. Number 4, approval of purchase of 6-inch mobile pump in the amount of $70,000 from Thompson Pump and Manufacturing. Number 5, approval of the purchase of a 20 kilowatt generator in the amount of $31,000 from Pinnacle Central Company. And number 6, approval of the city to engage in an agreement with the Florida Department of Financial Services to accept equipment through the Florida Firefighter Cancer Decontamination Equipment Grant Program. Does anyone want to pull any of these? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve all 6 consent agenda items.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next up is new business. The first one is the special events calendar. Ms. Norwood.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Andrea Norwood, Leisure Services Director. Tonight, attached, you will find the calendar of special events requests from outside organizations for 2024, a copy of the submitted applications, a listing of closures affecting Main Street, Waterfront Park, Veterans Memorial Lane, and street impacts from proposed races or walks. In December 2020, the City Commission approved a pilot proposal by the Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce to plan and promote the Third Friday event moving forward after COVID. Their first event was held in June 2021. The Chamber has partnered with the Downtown Merchants on planning and promoting the event monthly that includes a wet zone application. The Chamber requests sponsorship again for 2024 under the same support level as approved for 2023 in the amount of $36,000. The sponsorship includes the following, which is hiring of off-duty Pinellas County Sheriff's Office deputies for public safety, and an in-kind sponsorship of city staffing, which includes special events, parks and building maintenance, and the rental fees. Outside of that, the following organizations are requesting a waiver of fees for 2024, which is the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 238 for the 4th of July Parade on Main Street, and the Tampa Bay Austin Healey Club for the October 26th All British Car Show on Main Street. Please see in the backup, your backup, they have the waiver requests with the individual applications. To date, the following outside organizations citywide special events approved for 2024 already are the Best Damn Race, which is in January, which is approved in April of 23. The Art and Seafood on the Waterfront, which is in February, approved back in August. The 5K by the Bay in April, which was approved back in August. The Walk to Defeat ALS in April was approved back in September. And the Kick in the Grass Kickball Tournament on June 1st, which was approved back in August. Larger events are prepared to return for 2024 with approval include the Chalk Art Festival, Bands on the Bay, Kiwanis Arts and Crafts Shows, and the Wine Festival. So pending approval tonight, a new event coming to town in 2024 is the Latin Food and Music Festival on March 9th. Notable event changes for 2024, the Best Damn Race moved from February to February from January and is the only 2-day event. The Best Damn Leftover 5K moved from May to September, and the Off the Hook Outdoor Expo moved from October to November. So tonight, staff requests commission approval or denial of the 2024 special event calendar, waiver of fees to the American Legion Auxiliary for the July 4th parade, as the event is unique, fully supported by the American Legion and the Ladies Auxiliary, and is not utilized as an organizational fundraiser, as well as staff requests city commission approval to continue the third Friday event sponsor with the Safety Harbor Chamber at the support level of $36,000. Myself and Joe Cooper are here to answer any questions, and I believe we might have some event application.
Great.
Could I please ask you the page for the Austin Healey British Car Show waiver request? I went through the packet twice of the 109 pages, and I didn't see that in the backup.
His letter was with the application. However, we did find that it was not complete, so I did reach out to the organization and request some additional information with the deadline so that it could be placed on your agenda tonight, and I did not receive a response at all. So
So.
they were looking for a waiver of the rental fees
Yeah.
for Main Street.
So to that request, the application states that they have to be a Safety Harbor nonprofit to request a waiver fee, and we had this discussion last year, and then I believe the organizer came in front of you. That's what the application says. That's why staff is not recommending approval. However, it's up to the city commission. You can certainly do what you wish to do, but that's the difference between the Austin Healey and the American Legion Auxiliary. That's why we're recommending the American Legion Auxiliary be approved and not the British Car Show, only because the application states that they must be a Safety Harbor nonprofit.
What did we do last year for them?
They did not, and then they came after the fact.
We did not waive it last
We
year?
did not waive it last year, but they did not request it to be waived last year.
Thought they
So-
did.
They did after the fact.
Okay.
So they came, so they put the application in, you approved the application, they held the event.
Yeah.
They received the invoice, they came to you and asked to waive the rental fee, but it was after the fact. So this year, they have requested to waive the rental fee, but it's up to the city commission. And as Andrea just stated, we attempted to get some more information from them, and as of today, haven't received it. That doesn't mean they're not working on it, we just haven't received it or haven't heard anything.
And I can tell you, they reached out to me, which is why I had them come before the commission, because they were complaining that they won't be able to hold the event in the future because it's not that kind of organization where they're raising lots of money to pay for events. But that was what was conveyed to me, so I don't, it's
What
up
would
to
be the
commission.
dollar amount of the waiver if they approve it? What's the rental fee? Is it a one-day rental?
For Main Street.
$1,000?
Is $1,000 per day.
So if you approve their waiver request, it would be $1,000 waiver towards their.
Sorry, it's 1,500.
Sorry.
Private event organizer is 1,500.
Okay, so 1,500 for the day, or, well, I guess you could, well, you can do what you would like to do.
And it is, excuse me, Mayor, it is a nonprofit, and they do give money towards Special Olympics.
They are not a certified nonprofit, no, but they have stated that they do make a donation to the Special Olympics of Tampa Bay. But they are not a nonprofit organization, no.
I'm not suggesting they waive it, I just know that they probably won't have the event if it's not waived.
And I know it's great for the city, any of us who have been to it.
It is a popular event. The downtown businesses appreciate it because
really do.
they're one of the, we don't have many events where they don't bring in a lot of vendors. So the participants that participate in it with the cars and then those that are coming patronize the downtown businesses more than events that have vendors. So I can say that I've heard from the chamber and I've heard from the business owners that they do like the event.
How many years have they been doing it? Well, 15.
And off the top of my head, Joe, you have 22?
22 years.
But
But not all.
not in Safety Harbor. No, yeah.
A good 15 years, I would.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Why don't we just give them a reduced amount?
Discounted.
The commission can do what you please. But I wanted to point that out, because if you approve it as staff wrote it up, they wouldn't get any waiver. So,
The hard part, of course, is setting a precedent, and now not-for-profit organizations will potentially be asking for a waiver and similar. And so whatever we decide here, I understand it's an event that's been around for a while, but we're holding the feet to the fire for many of the not-for-profits, so it potentially sets a precedent. Well, I disagree for waiving the full amount.
Why don't you do a reduced amount?
$500 or something like that.
You said 5? Or charge them
Down
5?
from 15 to 500.
Charge them 500. I'd go with that.
Does anyone have any other questions regarding any of the other events? Yes?
3 minutes now.
We can speak on this topic, but we're not going backwards.
We're going to talk about this topic.
Well, actually, we're not going to, wait, this one, the events?
yeah.
Okay,
That's
sorry,
fine.
yeah.
Before we start
Yeah.
approving funding for 2024, can we just backtrack to this past weekend? Safety Harbor missed the mark on the wine festival. This was a very big loss to our town. There are a lot of people that have walked away very disappointed. There was a lot of trash left behind. How, as a city, do we be good stewards going forward and host events on our waterfront if we don't hold our vendors responsible for their cleanup? Is it because they pay $1,500 to be an event and they just feel that they're entitled to litter and waste? I'd love to show pictures, but I don't have them at the moment. But it's very important that it be brought up. Please consider some other approach to next year's wine festival. It doesn't need to leave the marina. I think it's interesting at the marina, but this past festival was not a wine festival. It was just a music festival that polluted our town way longer than it should have. It should have lasted to maybe 10 p.m., but at 11 p.m., all of that noise was circulating around the bowl that is Safety Harbor. Music was heard far past the areas it should have been heard, past enjoyment. Something to think about going forward. We make a lot of money off the event, but who's benefiting if we're leaving such a mess behind? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to be heard? Okay, so does the commission have any, it seems like there's a consensus on the British Car Show. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the other events?
Yeah, I just, again, I was down at the waterfront today. I didn't see any trash. What concerns me about the events we have down at the waterfront is there's a lot of dirt now. Between probably the storm that came in, all the salt water that came up, and this time of year not getting as much rain, that is concerning. With a park turning into a dust bowl. So this time of year, the more events we have all the way through till probably spring, it's concerning that the waterfront park is, for people like myself taking dogs down there and all, it's pretty dusty. So I just, want to keep an eye on it. I don't know when we're going to have any irrigation placed down there. but-
The plans are in the works, so
Gotcha.
I believe it's budgeted for this year, this fiscal year.
I don't know.
Correct, irrigation and turf replacement is budgeted for this year, and we do have staff working on the irrigation plans as we speak.
Yeah, that's my
That'll
worry
help,
is
yeah.
that over time, it's just not going to be much of a waterfront park. It's going to be a dust bowl.
Let's do
So,
a rain dance.
yeah.
Didn't we do something where we said we're gonna space the events out at the park, we won't do back-to-back, or?
Yep, and that's
That's what
accounted for if you look through the backup, it's. we
What's-
space the events out to help with the impact on the marina users versus the event goers, and so, yeah, there's, yeah.
I didn't mean to digress.
No.
That's all I have.
Anyone else? Anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to the event calendar, and put a discount to the British Car Show for $500, and approve the.
Discount it down to 500.
Discount down to $500.
That's in light of their long-term participation.
Yeah, because they've been around here for a long time, probably in excess of close to 15 years, for as long as I've been in town. Chamber, $36,000 for the chamber, and all the events on the calendar. Did I miss anything?
A waiver for the Legion.
And the waiver for the Legion, yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Norwood.
Thank you.
All right, so next up, we have a discussion regarding the paying compensation for city employees in consideration of MOU with the fire union.
Thank you, Mayor. City Commission, as you're aware, your workforce consists of 230 employees, 145 full-time employees, and we are a full-service city. The City of Safety Harbor currently has 16 full-time job openings or vacancies, 10 openings at Public Works, and 6 in the fire department. There are 5 what I'll call frozen positions because they're not being advertised right now. 1 is in finance, 1 is in HR, 1 is the new county-funded FD position, which we would like to hire later this year at some point, and then 2 are parks positions that don't come online until January. So you do have 5 other full-time positions outside of those 16, but they're not being actively sought at this point in time. Your last comprehensive pay study was performed in 2016, and prior to that was 2007. The city has made incremental adjustments to mids and max pay scales for union employees per the contract and for non-union employees since those comprehensive pay studies were completed. The last several years, the focus has been on the minimum wage adjustments to the January 1st, 2026 $15 minimum wage. So as you're aware, you've budgeted funds each of the last, I believe, 3 years. This will be year 4 to help those categories and classifications that are below the $15 minimum wage, and we still haven't gotten all categories above that yet. Pinellas County recently raised their minimum pay to $18 per hour, and the city of Clearwater will be releasing their recent pay study later this month. I got a sneak peek on Friday, but I'm not at liberty to discuss it because it hasn't been made public yet. But there will be substantial changes to the way they do pay and compensation in Clearwater if it gets approved. In fiscal year 23, the city had a discussion regarding a sanitation division, and at that time, the city made a decision to increase those CDL driver positions to $19 an hour to be able to attract more CDL drivers and maintain our sanitation operations. All of our CDL drivers are currently full, so that's good news. We do have some driver collector positions, but all of our CDL drivers in sanitation are full. And I think that change had something to do with that, or at least assist. To ensure that we are competitive when attracting and retaining public employees, it would be appropriate to consider a citywide pay and classification study to be completed or at least begin this fiscal year with implementation along with the fiscal year 25 budget consideration. I know the agenda memo says $75,000, but this was written quickly last week, and HR has already called around. The city of St. Pete Beach and the city of Largo have are both either working on a study or just started a study, and both for under $50,000. So I think I think $50,000 is a better number to use for a citywide pay and classification study. We won't know until we seek bids, but just as a heads up. In addition to the pay and classification study, I would ask that the City Commission consider any non-union mid-year COLA adjustments for March when you consider the next discussion, which is the fire union. The fire union current 3-year contract between the city and the union runs until September of 2025. As a result of several factors, the City of Safety Harbor has fallen behind on our min-max comparables and risks losing qualified paramedics to neighboring departments before the beginning of 2024. Some of those factors are outlined in the agenda memo. They include min's max increases as October 1st for Dunedin, Gulfport, Oldsmar, Palm Harbor, Tarpon Springs, and Treasure Island, and there might be others as well, but those are either North County departments or districts or comparable cities that we've used in the past. Palm Harbor recently added a Kelly Day, so they've added 3 new firefighter positions. And Chief and I are sitting on a countywide task force regarding the shortage of firefighter, paramedics, and EMTs at the county, state, and local level. The current contract calls for a comparable minimum max review in September of 2024. Frankly, that puts us well behind the current cycle of other cities that updated their pay as of October 1st. Management staff and the union have been discussing the current pay scale and pay scale adjustments for the better part of the last month, if not longer, outside the current 3-year contract and before September 2024. So acknowledging that something needs to be done sooner than September of 2024. As of the
25 or 24?
24, because that would be when the contract, I believe it's September of 2024 is when the contract calls for a review of the pay scales.
Okay.
So we need to do something sooner than that is our recommendation. As of this evening, we have 6 openings in FD, not including the 1 frozen position that I discussed, and we have 6 conditional offers that have been accepted. Of course, they have to go through background checks and screenings, and their start date wouldn't be until later this month. The following adjustments are recommended by management and the union. So we met with the union to discuss the increase to the mins and maxes. I know the union met with at least 3 of you that were available last week, and so this is some of what was discussed either at that meeting or after that meeting. Number 1, increase mins maxes to 100% of the expanded pay study as of October 1st in 2023, and that's in your backup, so you have that pay study. Provide a COLA of 3% on October 29th, which is the first day of the current pay period, which was this past Sunday. Or wait, not this past Sunday, the Sunday before. The Sunday before. And March 31st, 2024, which is the first day of that pay period. Commit to a citywide pay and classification study to be completed to begin this fiscal year and implementation in fiscal year 25. And then the chief and the union president have discussed this, a 5% hourly shift incentive for any Pinellas County certified firefighter paramedic assigned to a 3-person ALS engine or truck company as a driver operator for full-time or for time worked when a firefighter EMT paramedic trainee is assigned to the same unit. We have, of the 6 that have accepted, I believe 4 are EMTs, and they're going through the process of becoming paramedics, but that takes some time. So that's why that incentive would be in there for our current employees. The budgetary impacts. So the recommended changes are estimated to cost in the general fund for the fire union $135,000. A citywide non-union 3% COLA on March 31st, and it should say 2024 in the agenda backup, so we'll make that change, not 2023, is estimated to cost $150,000 citywide, $105,000 of which is in the general fund, and $47,000 which is in the enterprise fund. You budgeted, I said this earlier, but you budgeted $50,000 for non-union pay adjustments relative to the minimum wage state law, and you budgeted $25,000 to expand our citywide tuition reimbursement program, which we could pause that if we needed to use. We could use the total of that $75,000 towards to offset any decision you make this evening or a future pay study or something in that nature. So we do have some funding that we could available in the current year's budget. There's also going to be vacancies. There's current vacancies in fire, and there's vacancies at PW, and we don't know the impact, but that would spread out the the budgetary impact this fiscal year. The good news about this fiscal year is that it just began, so we're 1 month in. So we have 11 months if any changes need to be made to help absorb some increases. So staff would request a city commission discussion regarding pay and compensation for city employees in consideration of an MOU approval between the city and fire union. I'm here to answer any questions. Chief Stefancic is here to answer any questions. Union President Captain Justice is here to answer any questions. And there's a few other firefighters in the room as well. That was supposed to be funny.
Maybe you're just not that funny.
I'm not.
All righty, any questions for city manager? All right, any comments or discussion, or you want me to just open it up?
You can open it up. I kind of feel like we've been talking about doing a pay study citywide, so I think that's appropriate to do. My feeling always when we raise either increase through a COLA or increase pay, mins and maxes, is to do it across the board, simply because we're a small city, and you raise one group and it always has an effect on another group. And I think it's something, that we should really take into consideration, because I don't know where we are as far as, obviously, fire. We know we're not average, and we need to be competitive, but I also feel that we need to be competitive with all of our non-fire department employees as well. So, again, I think we need a pay study, and I've got no issue with the 3% COLA, and then raising the mins and maxes. So, but I'd certainly like to hear what other people may have to say.
Well, I also agree, after going through this and meeting with the members from the fire department and others, I agree that the mins and maxes raised to the 100% makes sense to me. And I also agree that as a city, we function as a city, and we need to apply things evenly to all the members of the city. The only thing I would have a question on is, I understand and I agree with the COLA, the 3% as of October 29th. I'm not sure I'd like to hear a little bit more about the rationale behind, at this point, agreeing to the March 31st COLA until we get the results of the pay study. Once the pay study comes in, it may turn out that we need a different number than that, and I'm assuming that it would be done before the 31st or thereabouts, so at that point we would be able to review where we are based on the results of the pay study. So I won't be here at that particular point, so I would be making a decision that other people would have to be responding to. Also, the pay study might indicate something different. So, just a thought to bring up.
Pay study as it applies to non-fire, right?
Yes.
It would be
both.
Yeah, we would do both. Yeah.
What's the dollar amount for each pay study, more or less? I mean,
Based on the information we received Friday, I'm going to say around $50,000.
for each one?
What total for the citywide?
Oh, for total for fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't put it out. We haven't gotten quotes, but Largo just signed a contract. Now, theirs was non-union, but they have a lot more employees than we do, and it was $40,000.
So the rationale behind this pay study is to prove or disprove what we have here on this matrix, this table right here, which outlines,
Well, I think.
which outlines the average for
I think
every
it's to
fire
add
department.
everything, fire and,
Well, I think part of the pay study too would be the consultant coming in and meeting with the commission and setting the goals of the study, meaning where are we, things have changed drastically in the workforce since COVID. So people there's some cities and governments where they're letting their employees work from home a few days a week. Now, obviously, fire department can't do that, but we need to look more regionally when we look at pay and competition and who we're trying to get these individuals from, or where. So, even the way they do pay studies has changed since the last time we did one. So I think the consultant would come in, looking at the deliverables for St. Pete Beach and Largo, they would come in, meet with the commission, and try to determine, like, where do we want to be? And then when the study's done, also determine, do we want to be 50th percentile? Do we want to be 60th percentile? Like, where do we want to be in the percentile range for all the competitors in our area? And they would do that for all the classifications. I have, so non-union, let me tell you how many we have. Hold on. I got it somewhere back here. So we have pay grades or pay classifications. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 23 different pay classifications. That's not job titles, that's pay classifications.
The matrix you provided us, and back to what Commissioner Diaz brought up, the matrix that you provided us on page 5 of the backup material.
Yep.
The average is what, I guess, staff is proposing we raised the mins and maxes to, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's based on a culmination of all the specific fire districts within the county?
That's
or-
based on the comparables that are in the contract plus East Lake and Palm Harbor.
And since we can't, I guess, I don't know if we can negotiate, or does this open back negotiations with the fire union? And if so, when would the mins and max go into effect if approved by the fire union?
These mins and maxes, the recommendation is that they would go into, they would retro to October 1st of this year.
Okay.
The existing agreement has the mins and maxes being moved up, but at the end of this.
At the end of this fiscal year.
Okay, so
That's
we're
correct.
actually moving it up earlier.
Right.
So just so I'm clear, when you talk about moving the mins and maxes, is it, I'm looking at this matrix here, is it the third line from the bottom where it says difference? Is that?
No,
It says
it's,
average.
it's the average line, so it's the.
Just
it's-
above Safety Harbor, where
Yeah.
it says average.
So Safety Harbor, that's where we're at now, and then the line above it is the average, and that's where it would move to.
So the
The
line below
difference is
safety
the-
harbor is the amount of change it would be then?
Yes,
Okay,
and then the
so it is-
percentage.
Yeah. Okay.
So, go ahead.
I wanted to speak to Commissioner Merce about the 3% and the 3%. In our talks, and I too about the fire, and then I'm looking at what staff recommended, so there were further discussions even beyond my discussions. And it feels as though that's a good faith that, okay, we'll give you 3, and then we'll give you 3 more, and then plus we'll look at the pay study and we'll make sure where we are. So we heard quite a great percentage at first, at a negotiation start. And so the 3 to me seems as though it's a compromise. Now, we don't know that fire will agree to that, correct? They have to vote on this that you've proposed.
Captain Justice has told me that what we have proposed together is acceptable.
They're okay. So that's where I am on that. I'm okay with that 3 and that 3, because it sounds as though there's been discussion, heart, and it's affordable, and it's something reasonable, that essentially it ties us over until we do the pay study, that COLA, cost of living, correct? It gives something where the city is doing something.
Yes.
That's just my bid. Thanks for letting me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the mins and
Just
max.
real quick, we're going to open it up for public comment, so just, yeah.
Yeah, the mins and max here on the fire side, I have no problem increasing it to 100%, to that level there on the average, so. But this right here that I'm looking at is pretty much a pay study here. I mean, it's basic compensation. I don't know why we have to open it up to another pay study. And I'd rather invest that money back into the fire department than having a consultant come around and tell me what Dunedin, Eastlake, Gulfport, Oldsmar, and all these other fire departments are paying their people with their minimums and maximums. I mean, this is basically a compensation study, and I think what they're interested in is in compensation. You know, it has an average right here, so unless somebody can persuade me a little bit about the pay study, because it's pretty straightforward right here.
So the pay study, which would not just be fire, the pay study is gonna be all the employees in the city, because I think we're not on par with it. Again, I guess we negotiated our contract a year ago. Everything was on par, and now all these other
We did
fire
negotiate-
districts went up.
Yeah, we did negotiate a year
Right.
ago also.
So, but everybody, you know, I think everybody with their budgets coming out increased pay across the board. And I think it behooves us, if we're gonna raise fire, according to the matrix here, that we do a pay study. I'm advocating a pay study across the board for everyone, because certainly, I think we've always maintained been competitive in the city, because we've had, you know, we've always had an average, we're average, instead of the bottom of the pack, and right now, we're finding ourselves at the bottom of the
Just be a
pack.
little bit devil's advocate, so should we go with the pay study, or should we go with this difference here? With this table?
Okay, so
I mean, this table, to me, is pretty good.
Yeah, so I think, well, first of all, when you talk about pay and compensation, there's never a fix. I mean, you get better, but there's never a complete fix, because as soon as, where are you, at the beginning of the cycle or the end of the cycle? I mean, there's so many municipalities out there doing pay studies right now, and we just saw a bunch of comparable fire districts or cities that just raised pay October 1st. So the comparables are, the expanded comparables are to get us to a better spot today. The pay study would be more of a regional look for citywide, for all positions, to see where we come in at, because we are fighting for the same talent that some of these other cities are fighting for. And then the commission would have to determine where they want to be. Like, obviously, we might not be able to keep up with the Clearwater or St. Pete or Tampa, but they would at least show some numbers and say, okay, amongst the cities and they'll do demographics, they'll do all that, and then they'll say, this is where the city is, but on regionally, where are you? Regionally, where are you, and where do you come in? And then you might say, okay, well, we know we're not gonna keep up with some of these bigger cities, but regionally, we wanna be at this percentile, and so that's where we wanna be. And that's what the study would show. So I think it's an expanded study from what this is.
It wouldn't just be fire, it'd be.
That's right, well, citywide,
Yeah,
all employees. Yeah, all employees.
Two different studies, right?
No, it'd be one study.
Study?
Yeah, they could do both. We would have them do every position we have in the city.
I can understand what Commissioner Diaz was saying. That was kind of my thought on leaving the March open, because by then we'll have the study in place if we choose to do the citywide study, and we have a better understanding of what adjustments are necessary to make. I understand the good faith estimate.
I can't commit that the study will be done by that date. If the commission approves the study, then we'll start working on it and get some quotes, and then, but I don't know how long it will take.
Is there a reason for the March 31st date?
Well, that's the
6
first,
months,
that's
or-
the first, it's 6 months, that's the first day of the pay period. April 1st is 6 months, but it's a lot easier for HR and finance if you do any major changes the first day of a pay period.
But there's nothing,
You have to do
Why is it
manual.
not May 31st or August 31st?
Oh, it was 6 months. Yeah, it was 6 months.
All right, why don't we open this one up to the public? If anyone would like to be heard on this item, please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Rob Sapersky, 531 Humphreys Road. Good evening. I trust that you've read the letter that I sent yesterday on the matter of the salary increase requested by our fire department, our firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. As my time before you this evening is limited, and for the sake of those not having read my letter, I'll summarize. I understand that a few of the more recently hired members of the department who have completed or are nearing the completion of their training stages are on the verge of leaving to join neighboring departments. And as I understand it, their departures are due to the city's reluctance to approve the requested salary increase, which is not exorbitant, in my understanding, but merely to a level comparable to those of neighboring fire departments. And I find this troubling in part because I understand that our fire department is already understaffed. Furthermore, I understand, as you noted, there's a shortage of qualified and experienced candidates. That turnover rate for those in emergency medical services is higher than in other occupations, and that pay dissatisfaction is one of the two top reasons for voluntary turnover. Considering the above, along with the costs associated with recruiting and training replacements, can we really afford to lose good employees that are this far along in the training process? Should these members leave, I want to think that there will be enough applicants coming forth, fresh out of the fire academy, seeking to fill these vacancies. But as anyone that has been through a fire academy or a police academy knows, while academies do a good job at training, they don't cover anything, or everything. They can't. There's a period of time where new hires are on-the-job training, followed by EMS training and education programs. My understanding is that it takes 3 to 5 years to get these new firefighters to be certified as drivers, paramedics, and acting officers. I ask each of you to envision a scenario wherein the need arises to call 911, and when the call is made, do you not want the most competent, capable, experienced, and when the situation calls for it, compassionate and empathetic first responders arriving? I know I do. And is this a matter that you want to use in showcasing a message of frugality with our tax dollars? I hope not. Everyone in the city of Safety Harbor has a vested interest in this matter, as these are the folks that will be responding. I understand that the City Commission intends to vote on this issue this evening, and I ask you to find room in the city's budget and vote yea in favor of and approving the salary increase being sought. And if adequate funds are not to be found in the current budget, and if an increase in the city's tax rate is required, I and others that I've spoken with on this issue have no problem with the increase. Spread out among the community, I believe the increase will be minimal and that they will be tax dollars well spent. Thank you. There's a voice from the community. I strongly support the fire department.
Thank you very much.
Ray, 1340 Harbor Hills Parkway. So I actually had a little bit of enlightening experience here tonight. I know as a budget, we have a nice budget to work with, and I wholeheartedly support increasing pay to our first responders. My question is why we don't have a volunteer firefighter program for young people that might not know that's the way they want to go. Why aren't we bringing people in from the community and wanting to be part of the solution? Is that an option? Some of the best information I've learned has been from firefighter volunteers and paramedic volunteers. I was a flight attendant for quite a while, and I did have to go through a lot of training in that regard. So I'm just wondering where our volunteers might be. But there's another question that I have for the public. How many firefighters in here actually live in Safety Harbor? That's a bigger issue.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to be heard?
I will just say that if we're expecting our employees to live in Safety Harbor, this study is going to say that we need major increases. Well,
Can we not do the study and
Hold
just
on,
go with the
excuse me,
increases
Ms.
like
Wright.
Carlos Diaz started?
Thank you.
We have a lot of employees that would love to live in Safety Harbor. Safety Harbor is a very expensive community to live in. And from public works to firefighters, all the way up and down the ranks, there's Plenty of our employees, in fact, we have several at Public Works that have applied to Habitat for Humanity to try to get one of the 6 homes that they're building on Elm Street. So I know that whether they live here or not, I know they want to be here. They're here more waking hours. Well, the firefighters are here 24/7, but the employees are here more waking hours than some of our residents who leave and go work in St. Peter, Tampa, or Clearwater, wherever they commute to the day. So, but I know that all of your employees love Safety Harbor. I know that.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, come on up.
I wanted to clarify that the union does prepare the pay study for no cost to the city, and that's our contribution to trying to get this, and we contract every year. So doing it more often would keep us in line with everybody else, so it's a no-cost item to the city. We do it on our own backs and our own time.
Thank you.
And that's something outside of this conversation that Union President Captain Justice and I have talked about not just reviewing the mins and maxes 1 out of every 3 years, because the last time it was reviewed, based on the comparables that were used, there was no change, and so that has not helped this situation. So we've talked about that, and we will address that in future contract discussions.
So, Matt, I'm looking at page 3 of 5 of the backup, and
We get there.
under the budget section, says the fire union recommended changes are estimated to cost $135 in the general fund.
Yes, current year.
So that, the 135 is increasing the mins, increasing the maxes, the 3% COLA in October, and another 3% in April? Does that include all of those?
That is correct.
Okay, and then the next sentence, the cost of a citywide non-union 3% COLA on March 31st is $150,000 citywide.
Yeah. And it's $150,000 citywide, $105 in the general fund, and $47,000 in the enterprise funds.
Okay, so I guess my real question did the 135 for the fire union recommendations, that included the additional 3% in March?
That's correct.
Okay. So if we're also recommending a 3% COLA effective March 31st for non-citywide union members, and we're also looking at doing this pay study, and we don't know when the pay study is going to be done, I'm wondering if this March date should be so magic, or if we should wait until we have a pay study before we commit to all these pay changes.
Yeah, so it's up to the city commission. I'll just state that since we're outside the contract, any changes to the contract have to be agreed by the city and by the union. So the commission can obviously do what you wish, but then I would have to sit down with the union, first thing tomorrow morning and have a conversation to see if that's acceptable to them. And I don't think that's something we should do right here in this meeting and put each other on the spot. So I think that, so we're agreeable to what is in front of you. So if you want to change the terms of what's in front of you, you certainly can. But then we would have to go back to the union and have a discussion at that point.
Can I
Yeah.
clarify what you just said?
Sure.
I think I heard the mayor say that 3% and 3% would be citywide. That would be for fire and.
The only 3% that would be citywide would be the March 31st. The 3% for October would be fire union members only.
Okay.
As a result of moving the mins and maxes to increase for any new employees that we're trying to attract and retain current employees.
Okay, and then a follow-up question to that I want you to consider is, are you thinking that the pay study is going to show that the 3% COLA is too much? Is that why you don't want to release on March too early? Because it might come back that, hey, we're all set, we're paying these folks too much. And so they didn't need the 3?
No, I don't think it's that it's gonna say that it's too much. I think it's probably gonna need to be more. But I don't really know. And so, we're going through the effort of doing a pay study. would seem to me, is to make a decision based on the results of the pay study. But,
I'm just still struggling with
Right.
this good faith thing for fire. And then the other thing I want to ask you is if the pay study reveals that we're way under and that the 3 for March isn't enough, given, or if you get it finished, can we increase it then?
You can, we'll be in the middle of budget discussions at that point in time. And, we'll have to see how this impacts future year's budget. I mean, obviously, you know me, it's no surprise, that's my number one concern is the sustainability of the budget moving out into the future. And so we'll have to factor that into any discussion when the study comes back and says, here's what you should implement, and then the commission's gonna have to decide, can we, how do we, over what period of time? And, the resident said it earlier, does that mean a millage increase to pay for it? And I don't have any of those answers tonight.
I'm a little confused on so there's a recommendation to go to raise the mins and maxes retroactive to October 1st. But on top of that, a 3% COLA to fire now, and then 3% citywide in March?
That's correct.
What, okay, but I'm trying to understand why are we doing a 3% COLA for raising the mins and maxes?
There's concern about some compression issues within the fire union when you raise the mins and maxes. And so, to I think Commissioner or Vice Mayor Besor's point, the percentage was higher, and that's what we've kind of, I'll say, negotiated, although we're not in negotiations. But that's what we've discussed as a compromise. So it's fair to say that neither side is happy with that compromise.
But it's compromise.
But it's a compromise.
Can I speak up again? Look at this cost of the citywide COLA for me for a minute, and 150,000 citywide, but then parenthetically, 105,000 in general fund and 47 in enterprise. Does the parenthetical figure, isn't that supposed to equal 150?
Yeah, I was doing averages.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, I was rounding, not
But
averages. I was
it's not
rounding.
going to go more than 150, most likely.
It might be 152.
Okay, so to me, that just, I can get my mind on 152,000 citywide,
Plus the 135,
plus the 135.
so we're talking 285.
And out of general fund, it would be 240. And out of enterprise, it would be 47.
And it's early in budget year, is what you were saying.
Yeah,
So we have some flex.
I cannot commit to you that we are going to be able to make up $240,000 in the general fund in 11 months. But I can tell you that we would, if you approve this, we would take a look at the budget and see what can be either frozen or held off to try to help. Now, the issue is going to be, and I'll say this now because we'll have this discussion again in July, but the issue is going to be the impact next year. And I don't know that yet because we don't know a lot of factors, including what increases in revenues we may receive through either taxes with increased property values or state revenue sharing. I know some of the increases in pay when we do our next countywide EMS budget, or our county EMS budget, we'll be able to recoup some of those costs for some of the positions because we get a certain number of funded positions. And so, so that would see an increase there, but I can't, there's a lot of moving numbers in this, and so I can't guarantee you. I can tell you that right now, based off of the best funds are the enterprise funds right now, because unfortunately, Public Works has 10 vacancies, and the longer those vacancies sit there, the more cost savings there are. So out of all of these funds, the one that I'm comfortable telling you that will probably be okay are the enterprise funds. But I can't tell you I'm gonna find $240,000 in the general fund.
I'm having a hard time with the COLA because I agree with the mins and maxes. I think that's a no-brainer. That's a quick, easy fix, and that puts us on average, at least. We're not the bottom, and I think it puts us in a competitive position. But just to implement a COLA and not do it citywide, I'm having a hard time with that. I just, again, it would be nice if we had an overall pay study in front of us to determine whether or not citywide we need to go up 3%, kind of like to Commissioner Murr's point. We don't really know, and I just think to raise the mins and maxes to be competitive, and then on top of that, put in a 3% COLA, I'm having some problem with that. Because we're already raising it, now we're gonna add another 3%, and I just don't know, how do you justify that?
I think, and Matt, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you raise the mins and max, you have, let's just say round numbers, you have 100 employees in the, actually, well, not even close to that, but just say for whatever number it is, maybe 20% are gonna be at the min or 20, or the max. So you have 80, so if you raise the mins and maxes, you're only impacting a small percentage of the range, because everyone else, maybe there's only one person at the min and one person at the max, or 5% and 5%, then you got like the whole rest of it that's not being impacted for open. So it's not, I don't know if it's just compression, but you're also just dealing with across the board too, where the mins and maxes may only affect 10, 15, 20% of the employees.
Or less, probably.
Or less, is it, so I didn't even know if it was less or.
Yeah, it's probably less than that, but to move people through the range so that the new people coming in are not on their heels.
So the mins and, so I'm just looking at that matrix. If I look across the board, the percent difference in the mins and maxes is, 11%, 15%, 10%, probably is an average of 11 or 12% if I had to guesstimate it. So you're changing the compensation of, what did you say your guesstimate was, what percent?
Are we talking citywide?
No, just in the union.
Oh, I think there's 3 maxed out, and there's a handful that are on the lower end in terms of years of service. So I don't know, 6 to 8 people.
Out of 24?
Just for the sake of discussion, say 30. It's under that, but
Okay.
just say 30. Yeah.
So to call it like, you're impacting the compensation of roughly, 20% of the rank and file in the fire department. You're not doing anything for the others. I mean, one approach would be, well, and I'm just kind of talk out loud here, is pick a number, do it across the board. Maybe you can help enlighten us why the mins and maxes are the focus instead of the other 80% also.
So.
Like, and let me just say it
Yes.
another way. If we have $150,000 for the proposal to play with, if the budget impact based on this is $150,000, why would we not like kind of peanut butter spread that $150,000 over all the positions, so it's maybe averages 6% for everyone instead of 12% for the 20.
No, that's what we're doing. So are we just talking about the fire union?
Fire union, I'm
Okay,
just talking
right.
fire union right now.
So the 3% COLA, and so everyone would receive that, and so then everyone moves through the range. And you had the numbers right, and that's why it was a 6% discussion last week at the table right there, because the COLA that you approved this year was 2, the merit was 4, that's 6, and so the request was for another 6 for 12, so that they would all move 12%, which is basically what the new people coming in would move from the 49 to the 56, and I'm just doing, that's just the paramedic one. So that was the rationale behind that, but I think the mins and maxes are important because we're talking about retaining and recruiting. And so if we're falling behind, it's going to be more difficult to recruit, and we've just seen that it's going to be more difficult to retain. So that's why I think the mins and maxes moving are important. Yes, it will only impact, the new hires, and it will impact a few people at the top of the range. Everyone else in the middle, it will impact them eventually, but it won't impact them with these decisions. But it keeps everyone moving through the.
If I'm a
through the range.
firefighter in Georgia and I'm moving to Florida and I've got 10 years of experience, I'm
Starting
not
at the minimum.
Huh?
You're starting at the minimum.
Oh, you do? And what case would we hire someone that they don't start at the minimum? If we hire someone from Largo?
Start at the minimum.
Really? Okay. All right, so that helps answer the question. I don't think I understood that.
I think it's important to bring up the point that part of this discussion was that maybe people were considering leaving, so we're trying to keep people here. So the mins and maxes, especially the mins, I think are important for that aspect. The concern, of course, is people will leave for various reasons. And so I'm not sure whether this would be proper impetus that would stop all 6 people. Indications are that that isn't going to be the case, but there's also indications that 6 people have been already procured. So I think it's important to raise the mins and maxes to make sure that there's good people, that there's interested people. Perhaps that will maybe keep 1 or 2 of those 6. Maybe they'll change their mind and want to stay. It's kind of concerning where you see some of them that have been here for a while that are on their way to becoming vested and things like that, that they give that up actually to make a move, because that's takes time, obviously, to become vested. So that was, the discussion of moving the mins and maxes are to help maybe keep people from leaving that would consider to be leaving, to provide for additional base salaries for those minimums. So I think that's important. The COLA, the 3% helps move everybody up, which I think is important. I think my question about the March COLA, without knowing the kind of, to me, still is like you're just providing additional information. Having the first COLA helps move everybody that isn't affected by the mins and maxes a little bit. They've already just been moved up 6%. So, that's already 9 in a relatively short period of time. The mins and maxes are helping, and for keeping those that are either topped out, the ability to move up a little bit, or the bottom to be able to bring them in. And so that's why I understand Vice Mayor's concern or thoughts about the COLA, but to me that helps move those that aren't benefited directly by the mins and maxes up a little bit. Again, my issue is the other 3% without having study in place.
To me, it seems the mins are more important for recruitment, the maxes for retention.
Well, I don't know about that, because some of the individuals that are leaving were, I'll just say, fewer years of service, and they were able to leave for more money because our mins were lower.
But if they'd been here for 4 or 7 years
Yeah.
something, they wouldn't be at the min, they'd be.
Somewhere in the range, but
I think the bump up in the min would surpass even where they were after 4, 5, or 6 years.
there's a number. I don't know
Yeah.
what that number, you have to run it, but it
Yeah.
might be 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
But it's close. Which is why raising the mins would help with that, and to stay, because if the frustrating thing is if we were raising them every year, then I think we could have kept a couple of the guys. I think, not all. There's guys that have minimal years of service, and look, it's not all about pay either. There's other reasons. There could be other benefits. You've heard discussion about the multipliers for the pension plan. You've heard items about health insurance costs and step plans, and I mean there's a long list of reasons. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know every reason that an individual makes the decision, but I just know that if we can be more competitive, it would help recruit and retain. I know that. But that's citywide. That's not just, that comment's citywide. Because I think what we're going to see with the county raising to 18 and with Clearwater's pending, I think we could have the potential to lose some good employees in other departments to some of those. The county has FRS. We don't have FRS. So we have a defined contribution, not a defined pension. So we can't compete there. So I'm looking at all of our employees, and trying to retain all of our employees that are good employees. Which is why the recommendation for the citywide pay study.
Why don't we go with the Mins and Max, 3% COLA, and then we look at everything else after the pay study, March 31st, for the whole city.
So the city commission can do what you'd like to do. I don't know. I'd have to have a conversation with the union tomorrow to see if that's acceptable at this point in time. But it's up to the city commission. Yeah, absolutely, Rick. Well, actually, you have to ask the mayor, but I'm sure he'll let you.
I'm Rick Justice, the union president. Y'all appreciate the conversation. So the reason for the 6% ask was overall right now, just with the comparables, we are 12% behind. Just recent numbers actually came out, and we're 14% behind, but we're going to stick with the 6 ask that we have. With the 6 ask and the 6 that's coming this year already, that would put us at the 12% we're behind. Make us somewhat competitive in our market. Like it was already said, we are it is a tough market right now. There's not a lot of medics. We are losing 6 good firefighter paramedics, and yes, it's already too late to keep those guys. But there are 7 additional firefighter paramedics who could be walking out the door too. So we have to think about that. We have to think about that retainment. So it's not just this moment of trying to keep the guys who are already leaving. We have this moment where we need to look forward, keep the other 7 who are in that year range to leave. So the point brought up about the 3% next April or 31st of March was the original ask was 6% right now. And for the budget, we agreed to spread it out 6 months later. So to lessen the impact to the budget, we were going to spread it out. We agreed to that. I am at liberty to speak on what the union's willing to agree to. I already got what I need for that. So if y'all want me to tell you, I can, or we can do that privately. It's up to y'all. Anybody want to hear it? Y'all want to say it?
I'm trying to think through the ramifications of that. What do you?
Right.
Do we want to hear this or?
Up to you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I would think.
I mean,
I guess the
I
more
think we are in a
information.
moment that we
Full
need to
disclosure.
move this forward quickly in order to retain what we have. Once we lose these guys, they're gone, and we're gonna have a truck full of new people, and our service in Safety Harbor is gonna suffer from that. So I can tell you right now, or we can.
Tell us right now.
All right. So bottom number is 6%, and the pay study that we requested, and that's it. We are willing to just keep the contract as is, and we'll finish it out for the next 2 years. And we can continue down that road. It's up to the commission. But 6% is bare minimum. We came a long ways off of where we started. I do think it's fair to help retain some of these guys. Definitely help with recruitment. The reason the pay study, it will bring up that bottom number, but we have 3-year employees that pay study would push right up against what they're making right now. That's the reason for that ask of 6%, to move everyone along. Everyone in every rank is behind. So that's the reason for the ask.
So let me ask you this question, because I'm listening to what everyone's saying. I'm hearing a couple of voices saying, let's hold off on the March 3%. I'm not quite sure what's in everybody's head, but what if the commission said, we'll agree to the mins and maxes now, we'll agree to the 3% effective October 31st, and we'll just revisit the 3% come March. Maybe the pay study's done, maybe it's not, but either way, we'll just revisit it before March. Would the union agree to that?
No, sir. We're 12% behind right now.
So
March,
would you effectively be saying no to something?
That's right.
Instead of, so you'd rather have nothing than something?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be hard up here, but yes, that's where the body is at. It is 6%, or we're good with the contract and we'll let it run until until 25. Yeah, so I think it's fair. I think 6% is fair. I think it'll be helpful for our guys. It will be helpful for recruitment to do that min-max move. Any questions?
What happens when the contract ends in 2025?
Well, I think, Mr. Spore and I have agreed to continue talking. You know, up until then, we're gonna, you know, hopefully have a good plan in place. But yeah, contract opens 25. I mean, we have to have a competitive fire department. We can't lose experience. Our fire trucks, suffer, our care suffers whenever we do lose that experience.
How many guys, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, the contract's gonna expire regardless in 2025.
Yes, sir.
There's gonna be a renegotiation
Yes, sir.
in 2025.
Yep. I think once we get to
And
25.
This is an intermediate negotiation
Exactly.
between contracts, because
Yep.
we just had a contract.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I think everybody up here is willing to, you know, look past what was agreed
Mhm.
and give an increase.
Yes, sir.
So what is the difference between the contract, us now agreeing to this or not agreeing to this, and the contract expiring? I don't understand.
So
We'll
the moment-
wait for the contract.
The reason that we're asking for this is to keep the guys here in Safety Harbor. We don't
Yeah.
want, so if we don't do something quickly, we're gonna continue to lose guys. We had 5 resignations in the last 72 hours. So that's gonna continue. We have good employees in the fire department, and they do get hired. They're gonna get picked up by these other departments, who are more competitive. Our starting salary is $14,000 lower than Palm Harbor.
Mhm.
We have a 7-year employee in Safety Harbor making the same money as he's gonna go start in Palm Harbor at. 7-year employee. So we're not competitive, and we have to change immediately, or else we will not have a fire department. We're gonna lose more guys. And
Let me go to
we're not
Vice
gonna-
Mayor
we're
real
simply not
quick.
gonna run
He's been
fire
holding
trucks.
his hand up.
So my question is, so if we raise the mins and maxes, forget the 6%, the 3%, just raising the mins and maxes, how many firefighters at this point would be affected by raising the mins and maxes?
We have a couple firemen in the 2-3 year range who ride it at 55, 56, and they would put that new min-max would put it right there.
Two.
At those-
We have
It's
two.
not, it's truly going to affect new employees, people we don't know yet.
So the mins and maxes is really for recruiting and new employees, and then the 6% you all are seeking is essentially to raise everyone up because other fire departments are paying more than what we're paying.
And my follow-up question, the reason we ended up in this plight is that we're behind. And because what I said was to Rick, why won't the other departments just jump us further because they want to poach? They want to stop. Why won't they raise their money even more? But what I understand is that this is cyclical and the other departments are ahead of the cycle. So if we catch up, it's not as though they're going to hit us with even higher money for other departments tomorrow. They're in something, aren't we in 21 to 22? And others are,
Well, fiscal year '23, the ones in the backup increased, or that's their pay as of October 1st, what's in your backup. And we need to discuss that further down the line in terms of keeping up, but we are definitely behind right now, yes. No one is contesting that. The numbers show it.
isn't an unreasonable argument with which we're being presented the 6%.
So Matt, what kind of impact would 6% across the board, besides the mins and maxes, what kind of impact would there be for fire if we raised it 6%?
Well, I'm hearing, I think we still are agreed to 3 and 3. Okay, so that impact is $135,000 in this budget.
So it's 3 and 3 instead of 6 up front.
And that, and that's something that Rick and I have
Agreed to
developed and talked about. We were on the phone
That's just-
late Halloween evening.
And that's just for the fire.
That's just
That's
for
just for the fire.
But the 135 is because it's spread out over 6 months, so then we're all thinking long-term, year 2, 3, 5. The increase is probably more, like, the annual run rate is probably more quantifiable, like 185 or something instead of 135.
Yeah, and you have to add in the merits, like when individuals get their merits, because it's all different. Some are October, some are
But
September.
the point is, it's more than.
It's always
the
more.
base year is,
It's no matter.
Kind of like you get a loan, it's like the introductory rate.
No, no.
And you have the balloon.
No,
Well, not the,
any pay increase for any city employee costs more year 2 than it does year 1. It just does. Unless you're giving everything on October 1st, and then it would be the same. Like if you're in a vacuum and their anniversary date's October 1st and you're giving it COLA on October 1st, then.
I'm just saying if you isolate this one item,
Yes,
the 3%.
it will cost more than 135 next year, you are correct.
Right, okay.
So it sounds to me like even if we go forward with and commit to 3 and 3, as you guys discussed, as well as the raising the mins and maxes, even once we do a study, I mean, we're still going to be somewhere in the average. We may be a little bit above, we might be a little bit below, but it seems like it's going to put us in the range of where we need to be regardless of the study for fire, as it relates to fire. I mean,
Well,
is it 3
well-
3 and 3 going to put us so far up we're
Well,
above average, or is it going to put us somewhere around average?
I have no clue. I mean,
We're 12% behind, right? Or we're 14% behind. So yeah, the ask would put us technically right below average for the lowest 6 paid departments in the county, plus East Lake Palm Harbor. So we're not average in the county. We're average of the 6 lowest, plus East Lake Palm Harbor. We just recently had a discussion to add those departments because that's who we just lost people to.
Right.
But we are.
I don't think we can compete with Palm Harbor. I don't think we can
Yeah,
compete
we're
with
gonna
some of
have
those
to at some
counties.
point.
Other
We
cities,
have
I
to.
think we can, but we're a small city. I don't know that we, for us to compete against a county, or it's like St. Pete or the city of Clearwater, we're a small city.
Yeah, but we're not running 13 stations, we're running 2, so it's
Right.
quite a bit cheaper for Safety Harbor and Fire Department.
We're in a tough predicament because
Well, I have a better understanding of where the 6 comes from now, so that helps. Now, the idea of the mins and maxes, though, because this is a contract related, this is a kind of a all or nothing kind of thing. We can't just increase, we can increase mins and maxes for non-union people, but we can't increase mins and maxes or any specific thing for union people without union approval.
we can't
Is that
change
true?
anything in the contract unless the union and city agrees on it. Doesn't matter what it is.
And this part where we're behind, at the time when we were negotiating this initially, this was before Palm Harbor raised their rates, some of the local,
Tarpon Springs,
Tarpon
Palm
Springs.
Harbor, I mean, we'd have to go back and look, but yes, that's correct.
so what we were looking at before was more in line with where we were presently.
I can't really answer that without, because it wasn't a topic per se of major conversation. So I can't say if we were or we weren't then. I can just tell you that we're behind now. We might have still been behind then, Commissioner Mers, just not as much as we're behind now. Like, so I don't know that information.
I'm okay with going along with the recommendation by the city
I am too.
staff. And I think in the long run, once we do a study, an all-inclusive study, I think the 6% that was, I guess, informally agreed upon, I think it's still gonna, whether we're under or over, I think it's still gonna put us closer to the average one way or another, and I feel comfortable doing it. But again, I want the pay study across the board, and I definitely think that we need to consider the 3% for all employees, because this is gonna be an overwhelming problem that I see. Not just, I mean, from my review from my experience dealing with other staff, it's once you raise fire, then there's gonna be some issues. So, but I think that's a good faith leap at trying to get things done, at trying to respond to, again, this all came up. It seems like poof, there's some new things that happened and it changed the landscape. And I think the commission's, through leadership of Matt, once fire spoke up, is responding, and I think it's a positive response. And I don't think we can do much more at this point. But again, I'd go along with what staff's recommended. I just don't think it's not gonna put us all the way at the top tier. And I just don't think we'll ever be, we're not Palm Harbor, we're not East Lake, that's county money. They got a bigger pot.
I think I feel the same way. I think, though, that I like then, as I understand it now, the staggered 3 and 3 is more cost-effective for the community. I do think, though, if we don't do it, we're going to hear a lot of not discussion, because discussion's good, but if we do it and we're making that 12%, then the difference between 12 and 14 are just people that want to leave. And people have a right to leave, and they choose to leave. And I will be surprised if doing this prevents them from leaving. And so we may still be doing all the same things that we were discussing doing, but if we don't do it and they leave, it will be that they were leaving because of the money. And if they're leaving, Safety Harbor has a certain special. Every community is different. If it's a couple of percent and people are leaving, then there must be other reasons why they're leaving. And I don't think throwing money at that is going to make the change.
Yes, sir. Just like Mr. Steingold said, it is a good big step, and it's not going to keep everyone. I understand that. I agree with you. But we do have to look into the future at the other 7 who are in that range to leave. If we don't make this step, I think we will miss the mark, and we're not going to replace them. Not the quality that we have here now.
And it makes it harder on you all, too, that are having to deal with or less trained people initially. I get that, so.
I agree with you. I mean, people do leave because of money, but it seems like not everybody leaves because of money. And having 6 people leave at one time to me signifies that there might be something else in the works.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that perhaps we all need to look at. Maybe it is money. Hopefully it is money. That's the easiest thing to blame all the time is the money, but not everybody's leaving for money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think some exit interviews are going to go a long ways.
From my experience,
yes, sir.
People tend to leave for there's other reasons that people leave.
Yes, sir.
That are more important than money.
Yeah, so I guess in my mind, the way I frame it is like I think we have a lot of anecdotal evidence that we're further behind than we should be on pay scale. Perhaps it's the 14% you're saying. But then part of me says, well, if we're going to do the pay study, and we're going to pay for the pay study, and the pay study might be done before March, there's nothing to lose in getting that perfect information or more information before we commit to the March one, even though we're pretty sure that we're that far behind. And I think where I'm leaning towards is I think I think I trust the anecdotal evidence, and I think it sends a signal, especially as you're in the process of recruiting other people and telling people, is this commissioner, is the city serious about, having the best firefighters on staff, is to commit to the full 6%, to do the min maxes and the 6%. You guys have hammered it out. There's been a lot of negotiations and go along with that. I will say I do agree with, Commissioner Diaz. There are studies, and I was talking to somebody earlier, and I can't find it, but the number one reason people leave isn't pay. It's job satisfaction. It's advancement opportunity. There's other things that go along with it. Morale. I've talked to a couple of the firefighters that left, and got some of their feedback, and it's not just pay, so hopefully, you know, the union of firefighters and everyone can, you know, try to, you know, work, you know, cohesively to create the environment that's necessary to, you know, make people feel, you know, special here. So. I think that's everyone. Anyone want to make a motion?
Adopt the recommendations of staff, that is the, sorry, my computer went out, the 3%, here, give me a second, be the increase in the mins and maxes to 100% of the expanded pay study as of October 1st, 2023, which I guess that would be page 5. We'll use that as exhibit 1 on page 5. To the average rate.
There's an MOU in there, so if you want to just state
The MOU.
approval of the MOU, and then,
Okay.
and then whatever you want to do for non-union, if you want to make that as part of the motion, or if you want to do that separate, or if you don't want to do that at all.
Yeah, and then I would, as part of that motion, provide a COLA of 3% on October 29, 2023. And then the next 3% would be March 31st, 2024 to fire. And as well, I'd like to include non-union. That'd be that 150 figure if we do 3% for non-union.
If you do just the March 31st date.
Right.
Yeah.
So the March 31st, 2024 would be both fire and non-union. And then, let's see, commit to a citywide pay and classification study to be, I guess, completed this next 2024 with implementation in 2025 as proposed. And then I guess there's a 5% hourly shift incentive that's also indicated for 2024. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right.
Second.
Are any of the items that were just mentioned not in the MOU or?
No,
MOU or any-
what I understand the motion to be is approval of the MOU and approval of the 3% COLA for non-union members on March 31st.
Sorry, but there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
there.
That's what I understood the
I was
motion to
rambling
be.
on, sorry. I should have just said move to adopt MOU.
And I
plus-
seconded it.
Which includes a citywide pay study to begin this fiscal year, and with any implementation for next fiscal year during the budget process, discussions to be determined.
Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Appreciate y'all's time.
Yep. Okay. I assume you all don't want to stick around for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board appointment?
exciting.
If not, you
Could I
just,
say,
yeah.
could I say one thing? Mr. Justice, Rick, I want to give a shout out to you and to Chief and to Mr. Spoor, because you put a lot of work into this. You put after-hours work into this. And I know your members, you say the body, I hope the body understands and appreciates what you've done. Just thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so now we're looking for one member for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
I'd move to, as a member that just came off, wants to be back on, but I would move to have Stephanie Lane, the alternate, as a regular member.
Who just, I don't have it up. Who just came off?
Michelle Brennan.
Yeah, Michelle Brennan, she would like to be back on due to lack of attendance, which she sent you all an email. There were some meeting dates that were moved, and she could not attend, and so she would like to stay on, so she's asked to stay on. And so if you appoint her to stay on, then she would fill a vacant position, and then Stephanie Lane would remain the alternate. Or you can move Stephanie Lane up to the regular member and put
That was
Michelle.
my motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I'll amend my motion, and I'll I'll have, we'll move
Oh, I
Stephanie
think that
Lane
was
to a
enough.
regular
I
member.
thought that was good.
Yeah,
Stephanie
I'm
Lane
sorry.
moved up and
Go ahead.
Michelle Brennan.
I was
as
half
the alternate.
listening.
Lane,
sorry.
a regular member, and then reappoint Ms. Brennan
As the alternate.
as the alternate.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes five.
You're very easily coerced.
Oh, sorry, anyone from the audience wish to be heard on that agenda item? Okay.
That's the first time I've seen that from you.
What's that?
Who are you?
All right, and now we're looking for 2 members of the Finance Advisory Committee.
The audit committee. From the Finance Advisory Committee. So I'll take this one real quick, because you are meeting next week to discuss the fiscal year 22 audit. And Elizabeth Wadsworth, well, let me tell you who's expressed an interest. So your past members were Elizabeth Wadsworth and Miss Orozco, so I just butchered her last name, I'm sorry. And so she's no longer on the FAC. Miss Wadsworth would like to serve on the audit committee. So would, we received response from Lisa Cures, who would like to be on, as well as Bianca, I should have read these names ahead of time, Barraza, and Judkins, Fang Junkins. So there's 4. Mr. Hadberg had said he does not want to be on it, and we have not heard back from Mr. Dotson. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to be on it, just means that we haven't heard back before this meeting. And we need 2 of the FAC members to serve with you on the audit committee.
Right, make a motion. I'll move that one of the members would be Elizabeth Wadsworth.
Second.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Now we're looking for 1 more.
Does anybody know the other?
Their resumes, or their applications and resumes are in the backup.
Do you have it here?
No, I'm not finding it either. I've got 3 out of 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at Wadsworth right now. I mean, you gotta really scroll down, but it's there.
It should be in this link, right? Audit committee
Yeah.
link.
Not
We
in-
just have 3 pages.
Okay, I'm online. So you're on iLegislate.
right,
Can you,
yeah.
can you go back one real quick?
And this way?
No. The arrow, yeah, do that. Huh. Okay, it didn't if you're online, if you go to the city website and go to
website.
agendas, they're all there. Sorry, I'm looking at them right now.
Can any of you help us?
I-
Who are you looking for?
One more member.
Well, like Fang Judkins has indicated number 1 that she would like. Has a master's of accounting and a bachelor of arts in finance and economics, and she's been an internal auditor 1, 2, and 3. So I think that level of expertise would be useful in the audit committee. Make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. All right, on to commission reports. Commissioner Mers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day on this Saturday at 11 a.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park. We have our annual Veterans Ceremony, and hopefully there'll be children singing and everything else, a very patriotic. I wanted to mention some observations on 9th Street. I heard from a couple of residents on Halloween, and I've also myself walked on 9th sometimes before this recent time change, and it would seem to me that it's pretty dark in various places. I don't know if the street lights or the poles can just be reviewed to see if perhaps a couple more lights could be put on, but there's a few locations. I know people use that road for various reasons, but walking on it, it can be kind of dark and darker than some of the other main streets. And I think this has been brought up before, but I know most of one side has a sidewalk on, but there's a couple parts on there that does not. And I don't remember what the reason was, because you have to end up crossing from one side of the street to the other to get to the sidewalk, and some of those fall under areas which are kind of dark with people driving, especially, school buses and kids and things like that. So I don't know if there's a reason particular to why those sections cannot have a continuous piece of sidewalk so that you could get on one and then run the entire length as opposed to the relatively small couple of pieces. So it'd be interesting hearing from the city.
We'll take a look at both. If I recall, some of the area on the western end, the property backs really close up to MLK, and there's not enough room to put a sidewalk in. So you're gonna have missing sections.
Okay.
There's also some grade and elevation issues, especially around Folly Farms. So, but we can take a look at both lights and sidewalks. My only caution about the lights, because I've done this, been there, done this.
Not fourth, ninth.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why was I thought we were talking about, was that a different discussion? Ninth.
I'm sure over the years.
All
but
right,
not that
so,
particular one.
all right,
no,
I'm sorry. Ninth,
part
okay,
of
so,
it's past the
so,
industrial park and,
yep,
you
so
know,
ninth, we actually were just out there, looking at, some sidewalk areas that we might be able to wrap. There's utility poles everywhere, especially on the east side of the road. But we were talking about some areas where we might be able to wrap a sidewalk around. And the light poles we'll take a look at. There's not as many residential areas along Ninth. I'm sorry, when we talked the other day, I thought you said MLK. So
that's okay.
now that I understand it's Ninth, yeah, we'll take a look. There's not as many residential there as MLK, which is always the concern when you add streetlights, because we think we're doing a good deed, and then the residents show up and say, why'd you put a streetlight in front of my bedroom window?
Right. But this is industrial areas. so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
might
yeah.
not be-
We'll take a look.
Right, but I noticed there was a lot of, especially on Tuesday when trick-or-treaters were out, there were a lot of them that were walking on there. It was just a bit of a dark road, for people.
There are eagles there too, though.
There's eagles there
There are
too?
eagles there.
Well, I
Right.
know maybe on the power plant, right, on the power pole.
We'll take a look, and we'll report back.
Thank you. And then the last thing was, last year, maybe it was the year before, I had mentioned that Mrs. Holder's fourth grade class, she written to the commission and provided a bunch of comments from their social studies class and talked about issues and concerns of the community they had, and I shared them all with you. I always find it to be pretty interesting because obviously the kids understand what goes on with the parents and they have their own perceptions of things. And I wanted to just summarize. There was 22 responses that you all have. 8 of them I would call environmental, and 7 of those 8 were in litter reduction. Now, I don't particularly find a lot of litter around, but there are places, and especially after events and stuff, I'm not really sure exactly where the kids were concerned about litter. One indicated some more trees, which is obviously good and we've worked on. There were 8 for safety. 4 fourth grade students had concerns of jaywalking. Reduce the jaywalking. Wider sidewalks, 1. More crosswalks, 1. More animal crossings so we don't run over so many animals, which I thought was very cute. And reduced use of rat poisoning, and which show other animals such as owls and stuff are impacted. So I thought that was really nice. And then there were kind of comical ones. There were 6 which I would find under general concern or frustration. 3 of them wanted more libraries because they felt that they've read every book that they have in town, which I think is a very positive thing. And of course, we're working on that. 1 indicated some more roads, else people, because there's lots of people here and they can't get around town to visit things. And 1 was concerned that there should be less red time in our stoplights because the lights need to be greener because it's slowing everybody up and making everybody late. And the last one was a shorter amount of time should be taught for math and social sciences. Now, of course, we have no control over that, but it is nice to know that some of these items, specifically trees and libraries and safety, we do discuss quite a bit here, which I think is pretty nice. One thing somebody asked was if there were the opportunity for them to participate in like citizen cleanups, if the kids could come. And I know there's times when the city has certain cleanups, so I'm not sure when we would have an opportunity to reach out to the kids. If the city sponsors anything, if not, if we have, you know, in a local event or something, I think her class would be a good group to perhaps participate.
So if you can give me your contact information, we participate in Keep Pinellas Beautiful, and we'll coordinate trash pickups with them. And so if you get me your contact info, I can certainly get her in contact with staff, and so let them know when those are happening.
Okay, well, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, do you want these back, or do you want?
Yeah, I do, because I want to summarize something and get it back to Ms. Holder for
Okay.
the class, so that she has a. You want
Vice
to make
Mayor?
a copy, you can.
Yeah, well, again, we gave out lots of candy on Main Street during the trick-or-treating we had last week. It was a lot of fun to see all the kids out there in their costumes, and parents as well. I just think Safety Harbor always outdoes itself in all the activities we have here, and it's just good to see that. Wine Festival, another great event. A lot of people out there. What I see a lot of when I walk around and when I drive through the city is a lot of people using low-speed vehicles, and I think at some point, see a lot of people in low-speed vehicles running stop signs. Again, I don't know if they think, stop signs don't apply to their vehicles, but it's getting a little bit more daring out there with low-speed vehicles. So just be on the lookout for low-speed vehicles. And I'm just glad we were able to address the concerns of fire when it came up kind of last minute. So kudos to everybody up here, and Matt, Chief, and the union for getting it all together, and great, doing a good job presenting, and us reaching an agreement with it. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
You, Commissioner Basur.
I wanted to echo the comments about Halloween. It was just great. Your costume was just fabulous. Your family always just outdoes itself. And I want to compliment the parents too, because they were so creative. Everybody was different. I didn't see as many Spider-Men. Sometimes in the past, we would see that classic costume, but people were very creative. And I want to thank Lake and Henry and Liz and Joe Cooper, all the people, all the staff who kept that candy flowing, especially the root beer dum-dums to Commissioner Merce, his special favorite. And I want to say thanks for the trees. Public Works offered trees, and I was able to benefit from that. And I like your tree challenge too. I think that is really very, very good. And I also am very happy that we came to a resolution with fire, because I think it means a lot to the community. And that's my report. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to echo about Halloween. It was really great to see the street was packed, as usual. I mean, it's just, stand on the street, you can just see just a stream of people walking back and forth. Safety Harbor is definitely the place to be for Halloween. I think there's more than Safety Harborites that were there, but it was pretty nice, great for the businesses. And it's just great in general for all the people. Obviously, I migrated into a local beverage establishment, and just watching out the window and just checking out the costumes, and everybody was just looking at the costumes. Hey, look at Spider-Man, or look at the pumpkin. So it was a pretty great, a great event, And that's just a great example that it's basically the people getting together that puts on the event. Wine Fest was, I thought it was a success, and I think one of the good things was the bands. Obviously, different points of view from different people. And in particular, it was pretty impressive. They had a Latin band at the fountain. I don't know if you guys ventured that way.
Got it on my phone.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, so I was walking my mom home, and she started, I lost her, and my uncle lost them, and they're like out there dancing and stuff like that. And then, of course, I tried, but, you know. But that's my report. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm kind of echoing what a lot of you already said, but I'll just go ahead and say it. But I mean, I just say Safety Harbor's been, rocking and rolling with our event. Since the last meeting, we had a pretty successful Third Friday, a lot of people out there. It was packed, a lot of bands. And I mean, credit to the chamber for doing a great job. Since you guys took over the Third Friday, we got a lot of good feedback on that. We had the free tree giveaway, as Commissioner Besore mentioned, on October 21st. I mean, it's funny, you go out there, it starts at 8, but the cars are lined up. I walked up and I saw the car that was first in line. I said, "How long have you been out here?" And he says, "I've been out here since 6:30. I was like, "Wow, like you are serious." And then I asked the second car, and he was out there since 7. I was like, "Well, you really could have waited an extra half hour." But, it's just, the line is packed. And as people were coming through, I was trying to let everyone know, as Commissioner Besore also mentioned, we have the Mayor's Tree Plant Challenge that is currently going on right now. So if you've planted a tree, whether one of the free trees or you've done something else on your property, just send an email with some pictures of what you did to Mayor's Tree Challenge at cityofsafetyharbor.com by December 29th, and you can be eligible to potentially win that, and kids are encouraged to participate. No one mentioned Jazz on the Waterfront. That also happened, I don't know, a week or so ago, and another great event at the Waterfront Park, which is a pretty good success. And also, no one mentioned Fright Night at Folly Farm. So Andrea Norwood and your team, I mean, you guys did a great job. We were out there packed. Everyone was loving it. I saw the kids playing, and I mean, what a great event, great job you guys do. And I know you got Christmas coming up, and you're going to knock that one out of the park. So looking forward to checking that out. And yeah, I was down there for Halloween, and you guys were handing out candy. I was trick-or-treating and taking candy.
Handing out toothbrushes.
Yeah, were you?
1,000 pound weight.
Should have been, yeah. Let's see, yeah, again, I echo everyone's comment on the wine festival. Veterans Day is coming up November 11th, so hope to see you all out there. Veterans Park at 11 a.m. is when the ceremony starts. And then the other thing is every now and then I do a town hall style meeting. I broadcast it live over Facebook. I call it Cup of Joe with Joe, where it's just kind of people are encouraged to come out, share your thoughts, ask questions, and just have some good dialogue about the direction of the city. So that'll be coming up November 18th. It's at 10 a.m. And again, if you're not able to make it, you can just watch it on Facebook, Mayor Joe Ayub, or facebook.com/Mayor Joe Ayub. So hope to see you involved in that. That's all I got.
When's the mayor's breakfast?
Well, that's
December 1st, I think.
December 1st at 7:30 a.m. at the spa. We're hosting it this year, so it's at the spa. So get your tickets through Maddie Williams.
Thanks.
Good one, yeah. Matt?
We will know later this week, but the audit committee meeting has been moved from November 13th to either the 15th at 7 p.m. or the 16th at 8 a.m. So we'll know more as we wrap this audit up and get it out the door. And we'll update you, and I know you have both of those days and times, and as soon as we know exactly which one, we will let you know.
Thank you. Izzy?
No report, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All have a good night.
Not for only the mayor.